Hello and welcome to American Heron Wargaming. Today, the Nuka Slugger returns to the channel for the beginning of Season 2. If you haven't seen it before, this is a narrative campaign that I've been running since the beginning of the channel using the Fallout Wasteland Warfare rule set. In Season 1, I played through 7 different scenarios which pit the Nuka Slugger, who at the time came in at 101 caps, against other lists which were also 101 caps. I wanted to try out a smaller scale game and have some fun with the scenario design. For Season 2 though, there are some new changes. If you haven't seen the Season 1 finale, then pause this video and go watch that one. For Season 2, the Nuka Slugger has been joined by the Nuka-Girl. They teamed up in the finale and are working to restore an old baseball field to its former glory. 100 caps was a fairly tight restriction last season, so for this season I'll be using this list, using the new rules for armor from the Nuka-World expansion. So instead of the armor values printed on their unit cards, they have to buy armor for caps. This means that the Slugger loses his wonderful 3-3-1 stat line which helped keep him alive last season. He and the Nuka-Girl are both using the lowest value armor item, the Wasteland outfit, which only gives them 1-1 armor each. The Slugger also gets to equip some armored pads, which also makes kind of sense thematically. It's not great to have so little armor in the Wasteland, but it does mean that I can fit all this into a nice tidy package of 200 caps. So, for each scenario of Season 2, we'll be facing off against enemy AI forces, which are also 200 caps each. Today's scenario is called the Factory Heist, and is set, unsurprisingly, inside the loading dock of a factory. Amongst the rubble, there is a conveyor belt which has been reactivated. Unfortunately, the incinerator has also been turned back on. The conveyor belt is kicked on as a new parcel has been delivered. This is the object of the scenario. Grab this case and escape out either the entrance we came in on, or head for the rear exit gate. However, whenever a model is carrying the case, they move one color shorter than usual. To complicate things, since the conveyor belt is on, at the end of every round, everything on the conveyor belt will move one orange distance further down the line. Furthermore, in the current state, the pusher will push anything off the main belt and onto the quick trip to the incinerator. If a model spends an action to activate this terminal, however, the pusher will be deactivated and things will take the scenic route around the map. The Slugger and Nuka-Girl set up at this entrance of the southeast side of the map. Guarding the facility are a utility protectron and a damaged assaultron. These are some heavy hitters that can take a beating, since robots get to keep their armor values post-Nuka-World update. There are a few other rules that factor in as well. Our forces have come in sneakily, so the robots are not on high alert. Until alerted, their turn consists of only a single move in a random direction. If we end an action in their awareness range, they are alerted automatically. Unless we're also in cover. Then they have to pass a perception check to notice us. Obviously, any attack will also alert them. Finally, activating the terminal to deactivate the pusher machine will also alert them. But with all that, we're set up and good to go. Our heroes are on the southeast side as mentioned earlier, and the robots are set up in the northwestern quadrant. With an even number of models on both sides, we roll for it and the robots get advantage first. The battered assaultron randomly moves closer to the conveyor belt. The Nuka Slugger pushes up and hides behind a piece of machinery. He's just out of the assaultron's awareness range, thankfully. The utility protectron tries to climb the junk pile, but doesn't quite get up there since it's difficult terrain. Nuka-Girl takes advantage of her faster movement speed to hide behind the tank, but is just barely in range of the radioactive barrel, so she takes a single rad damage. Not having rad armor anymore is certainly not doing us any favors so far. And that's the quick end of turn 1. Or not quite, as the conveyor activates and pushes the crate closer to fiery oblivion. On turn 2, the advantage rolls over to the Slugger's team. Nuka-Girl goes first, moving up just so that she's in range of getting to the console, but not close enough to trigger a perception check. Then she prepares to be ready for what's next. The battered assaultron is up first for the bots and moves back towards its original spot. This does force a perception check, but fortunately, the Nuka-Girl stays hidden. The Nuka Slugger is up next, and he pushes up for some cover behind a Nuka-Cola machine. Hopefully, they can provide some camouflage for him. The utility protectron nearly spots him, but fortunately doesn't. The battered assaultron is also in range as well. I hadn't expected that. With a perception of 6, this is a risky proposition. Fortunately, it also failed its check by just 1. We're getting lucky today. Not wanting to push his luck any further, the Slugger just prepares to close out his turn. The utility protectron moves off the junk pile slowly and towards the assaultron. Perhaps it needs some repairs. A nail-biting turn 2 finishes up with the robots having a conference while the Slugger's force prepares to pounce. The case trundles along down the conveyor belt. Turn 3 begins with the robots regaining the advantage. They still haven't spotted us, but at some point we're going to need to make a move on the case. At the end of this turn, the case will move into the danger zone where we need to either snag it or flip the switch on the pusher console. The battered Assaultron goes first and heads back the way it came. Maybe a faulty patrol routine or something. Definitely not faulty sensors though, as it critically spots the Slugger hiding behind the vending machine. Its claws start spinning up and the unmistakable whine of a charging head laser clicks on. In a move which might be considered by some to be foolhardy, insane, or just bad, the Slugger uses his reaction token to charge directly into the now hostile Assaultron. He activates next and absolutely squanders his charge bonus, missing by just 1. That would have been 2 damage going straight into the bot, but the attack sails through empty air. The second attack does connect, but with the 1 strong armor built in, the Assaultron shrugs off the single point of damage from the baseball bat. The utility Protectron wheels around and starts firing its nail gun wildly at the melee. The first shot goes completely wide. The second shot hits, and even hits the Slugger, its intended target. All his armor is broken away, but he has the strong armor token from his armored pads upgrade, so he blocks 1 and takes 1. Nuka-Girl reacts to this attack to take a quick move, just getting into contact with the console. To start off her activation, she throws the switch and diverts the conveyor. Then she takes a pot shot with a Thirst Zapper Cola at the utility Protectron, but crit fails. Turn 3 ends with things starting to heat up. The case glides past the melee, but is safe from the fire for a few more turns now. The advantage comes back to the Slugger's side, and he activates first, climbing up onto the conveyor to try to secure the package. The battered Assaultron attempted a parting swipe, which I forgot to photograph, but it was a miss. Then, the Slugger drills his fastball grenade into the battered Assaultron's chest cavity, getting 4 total damage and only losing 1 to the remaining strong armor. Not a bad hit on such a hard target. Though this offense won't go unrepaid, as a charge and swipe gets 2 damage through after taking the Slugger's remaining strong armor token. That extra movement speed is appreciated again as the Nuka-Girl sprints over the rubble and onto the conveyor to snag the case while the battered Assaultron takes on the Nuka Slugger. The utility Protectron senses her as the bigger threat for the moment and lets a nail fly from its hand nail gun, critically hitting and catching her in the shoulder. 2 more unblocked damage through. Fortunately, the second nail goes far wide. Turn 4 sees the first real damage getting exchanged. The situation is red hot, and not just because of the incinerator nearby. And then, of course, everything on the conveyor moves down again. The robots are up first, and the utility Protectron has to move in order to get an unblocked shot. Even with a clear lane though, nails aren't really meant for long-distance combat, so it's a miss. Going for the gold, the Nuka-Girl lugs the case off the conveyor and heads for the door, albeit a bit slower than usual. The battered Assaultron takes off after her, but catches a nasty parting swat from the Slugger. It barely hits, but with a reroll from the Big Leagues perk it gets 2 extra damage, so clearly connected with something vital. Unfortunately though, the head laser has fully charged, and gets to be fired as a free action. A bright red laser shoots out from its eye and singes the ends of the Nuka-Girl's hair, but she is unscathed, an incredibly lucky miss for us. We're not out of the woods yet though, as the battered Assaultron finishes its turn with a charge into Nuka-Girl. Unable to get to the battered Assaultron in a single charge, the Slugger charges in with 2 actions to support Nuka-Girl. She's struggling to get the case out of the factory with an angry combat robot on her heels and a cola fiend with a murder habit backing her up. Definitely not a normal day, even out in the Wasteland. Turn 5 ends with the Slugger's team in prime position to score, unless things go terribly wrong. "Stay right there, I got this," shouts the Slugger. Outnumbering the battered Assaultron gives him an extra green die in his attacks, so the first swing connects, and he gets 2 more damage through after the strong armor. And his second swing gets the last point through. The battered Assaultron is going down. But wait. Beep, beep, beep. The self-destruct mechanism starts to activate. Beep, beep, boom. And then shuts down harmlessly. Surprisingly, the self-destruct doesn't actually trigger on an explosion result, but a star, so we're safe. The battered Assaultron is even more battered now and crumples to the ground. The utility Protectron can't quite reach the remaining hostiles from where it is, so it has to move up. Its last shot connects only thanks to the -1 rolled on the effect die, but it gets a point of damage in. It's not enough to stop us though, as Nuka-Girl jets through the exit unharmed. And that's it for the scenario. We had quite a bit of luck, but a win's a win. I'm happy to be back again with the Nuka Slugger story. It's been a while, but it's also taken this long to come up with some more interesting ideas. I'm excited to see how the rest of the season goes, and hope you are as well. That's it for now. Stay safe out there on the Wasteland.